Well, at least something actually happened this week. Okay, we're 4 episodes in now, so nearly halfway through the season, believe it or not, and this episode felt like the first one written by someone who might have actually read a few She-Hulk comics. Maybe. She-Hulk went on some dates, she got laid, so she was finally doing the sexcapade stuff, finally trying to enjoy some aspects of being She-Hulk, which the character is supposed to do. She's supposed to like being big, green, and sexy. She's supposed to sleep around with a lot of dudes. And they kind of did that for a minute, which I almost took as a positive, until I saw what they did with it, because they very quickly reverted to form. They just couldn't help themselves. And it's a pretty sad indictment on the state of this show that the very brief moments that were kind of like the comics were the parts I came the closest to being okay with. But just like with the origin, it's like the writers couldn't get away from it or ruin it fast enough. They just did it to tease us or maybe shoot some stuff for the trailer. But it doesn't appear to be part of the show's MO. It doesn't seem to be what the writers really want to do. And of course, they couldn't not insert their politics into it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The episode did have one thing going for it though. One nice thing that they somehow managed to not screw up, though not for lack of trying. Wong. Wong makes another appearance. He plays a pretty significant role here, and he's easily the best thing in it. Now, his role doesn't make sense for several reasons, because the writers have no idea what they're doing, but Benedict Wong is very talented and is able to transcend the subpar material and deliver something that at least didn't make me want to drink until I couldn't remember what I just watched. Is that damning the episode with faint praise? Maybe, but goddammit, I've got to find something to keep myself engaged here, and with the way things are going, the show's title character probably isn't going to fit that bill. Anyway, episode 4 begins with some 2-bit stage magician, Donnie Blaze, which I'm assuming is no relation to Johnny Blaze, but who the hell knows. He's performing a show to a very bored audience, doing a bunch of cheap parlor tricks that look really lame. Nobody's impressed. He's dying a death on stage right now. Nothing's getting a reaction. So finally, he breaks out the big guns and puts on the sling ring from Doctor Strange, the one the sorcerers used to make the portals. So he brings some drunk floozy up on stage, he does the thing, has some trouble with it, but he finally opens up a portal to someplace, looks like some kind of destroyed village, and then we cut to Kamartaj, where Wong, the episode's MVP by a country mile, is settling in to binge watch season 5 of The Sopranos. Seeing him react to the series finale would be pretty fun, I think. Then, said drunk floozy drops out of a portal onto his couch, carrying a bloody, beating heart. Apparently, she wound up in a different dimension, let's say limbo, and a talking goat sent her back in exchange for a few drops of her blood. But never mind that, because holy shit, The Sopranos! She's gotta sit down and watch, because this is the one where they killed Adriana. And Wong is like, dude! Spoilers! Gah! Donnie Blaze is gonna pay for this! Yeah, damn that bastard for ruining The Sopranos for Wong. The finale probably would have done that on its own, but seriously, f*** that guy. There's only one punishment that would be fitting for a crime as heinous as this. And if you guessed inflict She-Hulk upon him, I'm so sorry, that means you've seen this show. Cut to Jennifer Walters talking to us about how everybody loves Wong, so having him back is like giving the show Twitter armor for a week. Yeah, you wish. So Jen's dad comes in, the one male character the writers seem to not have disdain for. Yet. And he's loaded up with supplies, new locks, security cameras, all that good stuff, because his daughter was attacked outside her house last week and he wants to make sure she's safe. Okay, perfectly natural reaction for a dad to have. If only Jen's reaction didn't ruin the whole thing. So unperturbed was she by the attack by those 4 Village People cosplayers the writers think are the Wrecking Crew that she didn't even bother calling the police. Never mind the fact that they were packing stolen Asgardian weapons and could likely cause trouble for someone who doesn't have feminist plot armor, but who gives a shit really? The police wouldn't catch them, and if they come back, She-Hulk will just kick their asses again. So no need to be worried about any of this. Sure, a team of supervillains showed up at her house and tried to steal her blood for reasons unknown, but they don't even merit a second thought. I mean, it's not like a TV show needs tension or intrigue or challenges for the main character to overcome or anything. Cut to the office, where She-Hulk is looking over her to-do list for the day, and a couple of these things are interesting. Finalize Blonsky's injunction, call his parole officer, follow up with his 7 soulmates. Also, she needs to meet diverse female BFF in the bathroom at 11:47 exactly, which God only knows what that's about. But the Blonsky stuff I zeroed in on because that implies continuity, and if you've been paying attention these past few weeks, you know continuity is something this show really sucks at, and this episode will be no exception. So maybe that'll go somewhere, but maybe it won't, because Jen skips over all the boring work stuff and lands on finished dating profile, which normally I'd roll my eyes at, but this is actually kind of on brand for She-Hulk, and it doesn't involve her twerking for the entire office to see, so let's see where this goes. Diverse female BFF comes in, mentions that they need to get Jen some new clothes, so hopefully She-Hulk will stop dressing like a man at some point. Also, she turns on that pointless interview from last week, because that was absolutely worth revisiting. But suddenly Wong portals in with a legal situation of the greatest importance. And I know what you're thinking, that this is about Wong being wanted by the authorities for breaking the abomination out of prison. But you'd be wrong. They've completely forgotten about that. No, this is about something much more important. Wong having the Sopranos ruined for him by that bastard Donnie Blaze. And also, he sent an innocent girl to a hell dimension. She might have had to make a pact with the devil to escape it. That's a thing too, I guess. But The Sopranos, you guys! Spoilers for a show that ended 15 years ago will not be tolerated! So Wong is really up in arms about this. Donnie Blaze was kicked out of Camartage after a week, though they let him keep the sling ring because they needed the plot to happen. And now, he's performing cheap parlor tricks and portaling people into other realms without proper training, which risks untangling the material and astral planes. Also, at this rate, it's only a matter of time before Wong has 6 feet under spoiled for him too. That cannot stand! Wong has to put a stop to this. He has to set a precedent that no unlicensed person ever practices the mystic arts again. Except there don't seem to be actual licenses for this sort of thing. No contracts or NDAs, and swearing on the Book of Ashanti sounds pretty cool, but that doesn't necessarily hold up in court. So there might not be much that Jen can do here, legally speaking. Unless you count the part where Donnie Blaze has been endangering innocent people by sending them to other dimensions, but weirdly enough, she doesn't think to focus on that. Man, Jessica Gao wasn't kidding. They really don't know how to write lawyer stuff at all. Okay, sarcasm aside, this scene was alright, and it was entirely because of Wong. Wong is a very serious character, doesn't have much of a sense of humor, but when you take a character like that and put them in a scenario that is inherently silly, so they're constantly being annoyed by all the wacky shit going on, that can be funny if the actor is up to the task, which Benedict Wong is. And overall, I still don't think this episode was good, but Wong being in there helped a lot. I did chuckle once or twice this week, and it was because of him. Now, replace Benedict Wong with a lesser actor and you've got nothing. But he elevates this enough to where I'm not hating what I'm watching when he's on screen. It's still not funny, but I'm watching this thinking to myself, man, give this guy an actual funny script, and I think he'd have me in stitches. Unfortunately, he's stuck with a She-Hulk script, so we play the hand we're dealt. Later at the bar, Jen is finishing drafting Wong's cease and desist order, 10 seconds after she basically told him he didn't have a legal leg to stand on here. Can you explain more, writers? I don't think any of the problems she just put on the table have gone away. Can we get more information here? We can't? Oh, right, because it's time to move on to dating stuff. How silly of me. Lawyer show. Then some guy at the bar hits on them, he acts like a sexist creep, and then the writers are done with him, so he goes away. Not the only time that one's gonna apply this week. I'm just getting it out of the way early. Jen says guys like that are why she doesn't date, but diverse female BFF says there are plenty of non-gross people for her to date. I love how she says people and not men. They just couldn't resist leaving that door open, could they? Diverse female BFF checks out Jen's dating profile, thinks Jen made a bad choice using her corporate headshot because it's not enticing enough apparently, and then puts forth the idea, what if Jen made a dating profile as She-Hulk? But Jen doesn't like the sound of that at all. She already has to be She-Hulk at the office. She doesn't want to be She-Hulk when she's trying to get dates. Yeah, the writers really get this character, don't they? Cut to She-Hulk and Wong serving Donnie Blaze with the cease and desist, and I still don't understand how that's a thing. Donnie even says you can't own magic, and Jen doesn't have a rebuttal to that. Her attitude is like, well, here's a cease and desist anyway, so suck it. But what happened to all those problems you laid out earlier? Have they been resolved? If they were, you didn't tell us about it, but I guess there's no time to tell us because now Donnie's challenging Wong to a magical dick measuring contest, and I guess we're just not bothering with silly details like how Jen can even legally do this. I still don't get it though. The only argument I could see them making here, ironically the one they don't make, would be that Donnie has been using magic to put unsuspecting innocent people in danger, in which case this would probably be a matter for the police, not a lawyer. But we can't get the police involved because, you see, if we did that, then we'd have to explain why they're not arresting Wong after he admitted to breaking the abomination out of prison last week, and I'm sorry, that's still really fucking irritating me. Wong admitted to the parole board that he broke Blonsky out of prison against his will and then immediately noped out after the board informed him that this was a crime. Why is there not a warrant out for Wong's arrest right now? You can't toy with the idea of making continuity more of a thing in one scene and then give it the finger in the next. Either continuity matters or it doesn't. Pick one. So this is going to court, I guess. And Donnie makes a gross comment when the dating match alert on Jen's phone goes off. Because of course he does. Then we cut to Jen on a date with a man, and hope you're sitting down for this one, it doesn't go very well. The guy's a complete loser. He's screwing around on his phone, checking out other girls while they're talking. He off in under 2 minutes, and he calls her a 6 on his way out the door. It's like asshole white guy from the first 3 episodes cloned himself. Lovely. She-Hulk writers, I have to ask, who hurt you? Somebody must have, because holy shit, do you seem like you have an axe to grind here. It's as if every new male character we meet is an avatar for every cheating ex-boyfriend Jessica Gao has ever had, and we're not even halfway through this thing yet. Cut to court, where Jen is trying to file an injunction against Donnie Blaze, citing unfair competition and gross negligence. Unfair competition? What the shit does that even mean? Competition against the Sorcerer Supreme? He sent an innocent person to a fucking hell dimension. This should be an open and shut case. Why is that not what you're leading with? But the judge isn't buying this without any proof, and apparently Jen didn't think of that because she's a bad lawyer, I guess. And Wong does have a witness. It's just not one he's keen to put on the stand. But they have no other options, and his lawyer seems to be really bad at lawyering all of a sudden, so he portals in the drunk floozy, Madison, with 2 N's and a Y, but it's not where you think. Get it? So Madison drunkenly recounts the story of how Donnie sent her to a hell dimension, which led to her making a deal with a demon, which led to her and Wongers becoming besties, and the whole thing was spooky, but in a fun way. Not a super credible witness, as you can imagine. Then the whole thing starts breaking down. Donnie's lawyer argues that you can't copyright magic. Jen tries to argue the difference between parlor tricks and actual sorcery. Donnie and his team start doing wacky shit like throwing smoke bombs and pulling rabbits out of hats because why the f not? Wong's had enough now, so he explains to Her Highness the judge how one man in the mortal realm has the ability to cause a ripple so great it would reverberate through every dimension and other galaxies, which would have the ability to destroy all life in the known and unknown universe. Plus, Donnie's stunt with Madison spoiled The Sopranos for him. Seriously, that guy. So the judge is gonna mull this over for a while and get back to them with a verdict in a few weeks. Meanwhile, they don't even get a temporary injunction. So hey, at least the case isn't super easy this time. Not because Donnie had a great argument though, mostly because Jen is an idiot and a really bad lawyer, which is probably worse than the case being easy. So that sucks. But Wongers and Medicine are going for Froyo to dish about the Sopranos again, and Medicine just can't seem to stop spoiling him, and damn it, that sucks even more! Whatever Benedict Wong got paid for this gig, it wasn't nearly enough. I was almost entertained by him here. Not because the material was all that great, but he is dragging this scene, kicking and screaming into another dimension where humor actually has a chance to land for once. And the way he plays how mortified he is with Medicine's whole shtick, which I suspect might have been mixed with his embarrassment about appearing in She-Hulk, it actually is kind of funny. Not that the show did anything to deserve this. They fell ass backwards into a great guest star who's bailing them out right now. But hey, credit where it's due. So, it's Friday night, and Jen is on the couch in her PJs drinking wine alone. Diverse female BFF calls her up to remind her how pathetic this is, and since Jen hasn't gotten a single new match on the dating app as herself, she finally gives in and creates a new profile as She-Hulk. And she says she's not proud of this, but really, it's the closest she's come so far to actually acting like the fucking character, and it's gonna give her an excuse to dress like a woman for a change. So, YOLO, I guess. FYI, the lock screen on Jen's phone is literally a picture of Steve Rogers' ass, which, in a vacuum, I don't have an issue with. I mean, a heterosexual female superhero in this day and age is more of a novelty than you might think. And hell, my lock screen is a picture of the Kool-Aid Man's O-face, so I'm in no position to judge. But I would like to point out, just for the record, that if we flipped the genders here and made it so a male character like, say, Bucky Barnes had She-Hulk's ass as his lock screen, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would not be nearly so forgiving about this. Complains about getting catcalled, has a dude's ass as her lock screen. Yeah, no discrepancies there at all. Within seconds, she has dozens of matches, schedules them all on the same night somehow, and sure enough, they're all varying degrees of awful. An egotistical bodybuilder, pretentious filmmaker snob, and one really weird dude who calls her a specimen, which I think is preferable to being a 6, but God only knows. Eventually, though, she lands on the one guy in the pile who is good-looking, has a good job, a doctor, and is not a total creep. If you thought men like that didn't exist on this show, I certainly wouldn't blame you. So that's all the convincing Jen needs to plant this dude on her couch before their appetizer's even cold. Then she goes in for a little tongue action, but he spills his drink on his shirt, so he has to take the shirt off, exposing his awesome muscles that Jen's practically drooling over. But right when her libido is about to kick into overdrive, and conveniently before She-Hulk can take any of her clothes off, because that's an Uncanny Valley horror show I don't think anyone's prepared for, Wong portals in because he's got a crisis on his hands. Turns out, in Donnie's latest performance, he summoned a bird that laid an egg. No, that's not a metaphor. Some kind of weird demon bat thing hatched out of the egg, and in his efforts to put the demon back in whatever hell dimension it came from, he ended up releasing a whole swarm of them, and now Wong needs She-Hulk's help to fix this. I mean, if we've got a demon bat problem, then it's only a matter of time before Morbius shows up, and then it'll be Morbin time again, and nobody wants that. So She-Hulk has to run around grabbing all the demon bats while Wong fixes the portal to the Hell Dimension, and what follows is a better action scene than what we've seen so far, in the sense that it involves some actual effort on Jen's part, and it goes long enough for her to become annoyed, which isn't much, but frankly it's a step up from the last 2 fights she was in. The problem is, she kinda ruins it by spending the entire scene complaining about how she could be sexing a hot doctor right now if stupid Wong hadn't needed help to save the stupid world from these stupid demon bats. Ugh, why does everything bad happen to She-Hulk, am I right? God! But they send the bats back to hell, She-Hulk threatens Donnie into accepting the cease and desist, and her date is even still in the mood when Wong portals her back and she lands on him like a giant sex-crazed boulder. So, all's well that ends well. Until the next morning, when Dr. Muscles McHorny, which is what I'm calling him because I don't think the writers gave enough of a shit about this character to actually give him a name, walks into the kitchen to find Jen in Jen form, doesn't even recognize her, and then f***s out of there so fast he doesn't even bother picking up the testicles he left in Jen's purse. And that's the story of She-Hulk's first date. Oh, no, dude, don't worry about it. They got the message. Yeah, you can clock out now. It's cool. It's really interesting the way this was structured. On a different show, a less bad show, a person turning into a completely different person right after having sex with someone would have been played very differently. Perfect example, Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2. Buffy sleeps with Angel for the first time, it breaks the gypsy curse on him, and causes him to turn back into Angelus. It's fucking horrifying, and also a clever metaphor. But in this case, the one who changed, the one who manipulated the other person, is the one the writers think is the victim here. Think about this. Jen made a dating profile as She-Hulk, promoted herself as She-Hulk, went on a date with this guy as She-Hulk, had sex with him as She-Hulk, and then the next morning she's all, "Hi, I'm Jen. This is the real me, by the way. You want some OJ? It's freshly squeezed." Now bear in mind, she never actually explained any of this shit to him beforehand, okay? She never showed him her normal human form or told him how she changes back and forth. As far as he knows, She-Hulk is who this person is. He went on a date with one person, spent the night with one person, then woke up to a totally different person. She's acting different, she looks completely different from the woman in her profile, the person that she made him think she was, and we're supposed to think he's the asshole for feeling blindsided and wanting to leave. Really? You writers really didn't understand how that was gonna look? How trying to make Jen the sympathetic one here was absolute 100% grade A bullshit? She's the one who took advantage of him. She may not have made him do anything he didn't want to do, but she withheld huge details about herself that he would have wanted to know before he got down and dirty with the Jolly Green Giantess. If you think about it, what Jen just did to this guy is basically no different than what the shapeshifter did to asshole white guy last week. Tricked the man into a relationship by making him think she was someone else. It's the exact same fucking thing. And as I recall, when the shapeshifter did it, it was a bad thing. So tell me, writers, since Jen had no sympathy for the victim in that situation, why should the audience have any sympathy for Jen in this one? And just in case you were wondering if this was funny or not, well, it wasn't, but there's more to it than that. There's a very basic formula to the art of joke making that the writers on this show have completely ignored. There's 3 simple steps: setup, punchline, payoff. If you nail these 3 steps and the actors can sell it, you get your laugh, which should be fairly easy for a competent writer with any kind of comedic chops. For example, there's a scene in The Avengers. Our heroes are on the helicarrier talking about serious stuff. There's your setup. Then in the middle of the scene, Tony is like, "That man is playing Galaga," because there's a SHIELD agent just goofing off over there instead of doing his job. That's the punchline. They go back to talking about serious stuff for a while. Then at the end of the scene, after Tony called him on it, the douchebag goes right back to playing Galaga. Payoff. That was funny. I laughed my ass off. Everyone in my theater did, because it followed the formula and it made the joke work. But for some reason, the She-Hulk writers think getting laughs only takes 1 step out of 3. Like the twerking scene. Seems like it's supposed to be a payoff of some kind, but a payoff to what? Megan Thee Stallion existing? That's not funny. Then we've got this scene. What's funny about it? Nothing. There's a setup for something. Homeboy's going to bed with a Hulk. Holy shit. But the writers just passed on steps 2 and 3. They have sex. Nothing bad or weird or awkward happens. He takes off. The end. First of all, I cannot believe you didn't even try to do a death by snoo-snoo type of gag here. If you passed on fruit hanging that low, then quit your day jobs, because you hacks wouldn't know comedy if it punched you in the ovaries. Now imagine it playing out like this. They're going to bed, they're both super excited, Jen because she finally met a great guy, and Dr. Muscles McHorny because he's about to make it with a Hulk. Surely this is gonna be sex unlike any man has ever had. Fast forward to afterward, Jen's asking him how it was, but maybe he doesn't respond. Or maybe he's just whimpering in pain, and then they cut to an ambulance peeling rubber toward the hospital, because it was the first time Jen's had sex as a Hulk. Maybe she got a little overexcited, lost control of herself, and accidentally pulled this dude's groin muscle, or maybe broke his pelvis or something. Next thing you know, he's suing her for damages, because he may have had the best sex of his life, but now his pee has more blood in it than urine. So then Jen has to get up on a witness stand as the judge and jury jury sit on the edge of their seats in morbid fascination as she's forced to recount to these people all the super awkward and humiliating details about her sex life as she tries to avoid getting taken to the cleaners by this dude. Maybe it makes the news and the media has a field day with this and the dude starts doing interviews talking about it. Maybe he signs a book deal where he writes about how sex with She-Hulk is and it becomes a bestseller. That would be funny! I don't know what this was supposed to be, but funny ain't it. It wasn't even good storytelling either. It was just a bunch of bullshit. And speaking of bullshit, Jen turns on the news to find out that Titania has been cleared of all charges. Cleared of all charges after she committed destruction of property, assault, and attempted murder in a room full of eyewitnesses, including a fucking judge. They don't tell us how she was cleared because then they'd have to explain it, which they can't, just that she was. You figure that one out because I've sure as hell got nothing. This show. And the episode ends with Jen being served court documents. Titania is suing her. See, unbeknownst to Jen, Titania went and trademarked the She-Hulk name, which Jen just used for her dating profile without owning the rights. And you know what that means. Lawsuit! Yay! More lawyer stuff. Exactly the thing these writers have been excelling at. God help us. And for the stinger, we have Madison and Wongers watching movies and talking about what drinks Wong has tried. And mention is made of a bottomless gin and tonic, but they don't have one because I guess there isn't a spell for that. And this bit was okay, because there was a setup, a punchline, and a payoff throughout the episode. She annoys him, and annoys him, and annoys him, then surprise, they become unlikely buddies. It's tropey, but it works. And yeah, like 90% of it was just because of the way the actors played it, but I did get a chuckle out of this. So congratulations, She-Hulk writers. It took you 4 episodes, but you finally managed to land something vaguely resembling a joke. If only the rest of the episode hadn't been so fucking dumb, it made me want a bottomless gin and tonic. In the last video, I pointed out how things were way too easy for Jen. How she didn't have to struggle with anything in her job or being a Hulk or whatever. Well, she had to struggle here, but not because the writers wanted to challenge her. She struggled because she was a fucking idiot. Donnie Blaze is putting innocent people in danger, sending them to a hell dimension. You would have to work really hard to fuck up a case that easy, but Jen almost fucks it up regardless because the plot says so. Bless Wong's heart. He is better than this episode deserves, and is certainly the most entertaining thing in it, but I have no idea why he wasn't getting arrested for breaking the abomination out of jail, and clearly the writers don't either. Titania getting cleared of all charges? Basically just code for Jessica Gao pointing at the audience and laughing at them. There was the writer's baffling tone deafness with the date situation, which sucks because for a second there, it looked like She-Hulk was actually going to start acting the way she's supposed to act until it turned into a giant green middle finger to the audience and the writer's non-stop effort to drive away the entire male portion of it. And last but not least, this stuff. On paper, this had the potential to be the least bad episode of She-Hulk so far. And in some ways it kind of was. Shout out to my man Wong. But generally, it was just more of the same garbage. She's such a hypocrite. She literally does the exact thing she mocked asshole white guy for falling victim to last week. Maybe I should start calling her asshole green chick. Why the hell would anyone want to get behind Jen Walters after that? The writing is still bad. The politics are still insufferable. They still don't have a goddamn clue how to do lawyer stuff. And it doesn't look like that's getting any better before Daredevil shows up either. 5 more episodes to go. Thanks for watching, and while you're here, please do all the other YouTube things. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel. Links to everything are in the description box. Sound off on this episode in the comments section, and give the video a thumbs up. It really helps out with the algorithm. Share, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more soon. So take care, stay tuned, I'll see you next time.